Dismount and find 5 at the fair.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Twin Cities live from the Minnesota State Fair. I'm Bob Bruce. We've got a great crowd gathered here today on the fairgrounds, and we've got a very interesting subject. The little fellow that I've got in my hand here, most of you would recognize him as E.T. Today, we have really a couple of subjects, but the same theme. One is, does a little fellow like this have satanic effects on your child? Are there other toys in your children's toy box that may have satanic effects? And that old, ever-popular theme of rock and roll music. Is it damaging the brains of the young people of America? Now, I have a mother right here. And could you stand up, please, ma'am? And Masters of the Universe, Smurfs, E.T., do you have those kind of toys?
Masters of the Universe, yeah.
Are you afraid that Masters of the Universe is going to have bad effects on your children?
I don't know. I'm not crazy about it.
Then why did you buy it for your children?
Because they want it. I don't know.
Because they want it. Well, our guest today is a gentleman by the name of Phil Phillips, and he has written a book called Turmoil in the Toy Box. Would you please welcome Phil Phillips? Phil, thanks for being with us today.
I'll tell you why she bought those toys.
Okay, yeah, well, maybe we should start with that. Why did she buy those toys?
She bought those toys because this is the first toy series in history to be simultaneously developed with a cartoon. The cartoon was developed with using licensed product. Do you understand what that means? It was like if Hunt's Ketchup developed a cartoon to sell Hunt's Ketchup. And these 30-minute cartoons, played as many as 18 times a week in some areas, act as commercials for the toys, creating peer pressure with the children to have these toys and setting in concrete the way the children play with the toys.
Okay, well, if indeed we agree with you that these programs act as commercials and sell toys, there are a lot of programs on television that could be said to act as commercials, but if indeed Masters of the Universe acts as a commercial, what's wrong with children having these toys?
Well, the thing that we deal with is negative effects in all different ranges. We deal with emotional negative effects and developmental negative effects, but the other thing of major concern is actual portrayals of the occult within the cartoons.
Now, before we get into the occult and cartoons, particularly the Smurfs, which one of my favorites, I watch them every Saturday with my son. Maybe I'm in trouble. I don't know. How did you get started doing this? I mean, how did you get started monitoring toys for the occult?
Well, I walked into a toy store about 3 years ago and saw a toy holding an occult symbol in its hand. It got my curiosity up. I picked up the toy and I took it back to the house I was staying at, and I read the little comic book, and there were a number of direct occult portrayals within that comic book, including the occultic symbol with the toy, which was a ram's head staff. The ram's head is a very occultic symbol. It's called a Norrock. And when it's pictured in occult books, many times it's pictured with the butt of the staff crushed onto the head of a dove. Now, what I was concerned about is that children were being programmed to accept the occult as the norm. The occult is a very violent religion.
Show me some examples here, and let's start with the Smurf, the little Smurf there. You've got tons of toys up there. Probably less than most children, but, you know.
Actually, I bought almost $2,000 worth of toys in the course of my research on this subject.
What's wrong with Smurfs?
The material. Smurfs falls in a category I call innocent and cute, because on the outset they are very innocent looking. I mean, if you walk down the toy store aisle, stuff like this would not shock you or amaze you at what is presented on the outside, but there's material connected with these toys that are actual portrayals of the occult. The word Beelzebub has been used numerous times on the shows, the Smurfs, and in one show, Gargamel drew a pentagram, a 5-pointed occultic star, lit candles at each point, which is an actual witchcraft practice, danced inside the pentagram, chanting a magical spell, at which point a book opened up across the room, a spiritual entity left the book, entered his physical body, giving him power to levitate and do battle against the Smurfs. It's actual portrayal of the cult.
Now, wait, I don't understand something here. Even if I agree with you that, and I believe on Skeletor, the staff with the ram's head is supposedly a symbol of the occult. Do you have that there? Do you see that laying around there?
I have Skeletor. I don't know if I have the ram's head.
Skeletor has a staff, and it has a ram's head, and that's supposedly a symbol of the occult. I'm 33 years old. I had no idea that that is a symbol of the occult. how in the world is my 4-year-old son going to know that it's a symbol of the occult? And how is it going to affect him if he doesn't even know what it is?
What we're talking about is a layer upon layer effect. If you have hundreds of shows portraying the occult before your children on a constant basis, what it does is it creates a desire to know more about the occult and a desire to delve into it. It creates a taste in the palate. Now, one thing you've got to understand is that children under the age of 7 view television in a vastly different manner than older children. They believe that what they see on TV is reality, not fantasy. And it's developmentally beyond them to explain this to them. It's like trying to explain to a 3-year-old, we'll do it tomorrow. They're back an hour later pulling on your pant leg going, is it tomorrow yet? There's no concept of time in that age group. As far as a preschooler is concerned, everything on television is reality. The other thing that they view is commercials as public service announcements. They believe everything is the truth told to them. And this is decidedly important when we understand that the average preschooler watches between 26 and 30 hours of television a week, or the average 18-year-olds watch 22,000 hours of television before he graduates from high school while only spending 11,000 hours in the classroom, and then turn around on the other side, and the average father in America, and this was a study done by placing hidden microphones on preschool-age children, spends approximately 37 seconds a day in direct communication with their preschool-age children.
Well, you mentioned all the hours of TV that children watch. That's true, but there's also a lot of good TV with Sesame Street, and there's a lot of good things on TV, and it also expands a child's horizons quite significantly. A lot of different programs. Maybe you're saying is that parents, which I believe in, should monitor what their children watch. Well, wait, before we go any further, let me ask this mother, the Cabbage Patch Kids, because I wanted to get that in here because I cannot see anything wrong with Cabbage Patch Kids. Now, do you see anything wrong with them?
No, I don't. I don't have any children that age right now that has one. She's too old for that, but I don't see anything wrong with them.
Well, how old is your child?
The oldest one is 15, and I have a 13 and a 6-year-old.
And do you think toys have changed recently from when they were children? Are they more violent, or were there G.I. Joes? There were G.I. Joes and stuff like that when your children grew up. I mean, are they having problems, or did you think your toys adversely affected them?
No, I don't think it's affected them. I think their imagination isn't what it used to be.
Well, how do you feel about that?
Okay, let me answer the question first. Sesame Street and those type of shows. First of all, the major studies that were done show that no more than 2 hours or no more than 1 hour a day is healthy for a young child to watch television. Okay, that's 14 hours maximum in the week. The other thing is that research has shown that shows such as Sesame Street actually decrease learning as compared to learning the same material out of books. Okay, the child who learns the same material out of books learns faster than Sesame Street. Cabbage Patch.
I mean, that may be true, but don't you think that you combine the two that it's more beneficial?
I don't know. I'm not...
I mean, there are a lot of children, especially in large cities, that don't have the money to go out and buy books, or perhaps don't have the parents that take the responsibility to teach them about books, but they can watch Sesame Street for free on television, and that may be the only education they get.
I'm not here to knock Sesame Street as such, except for the portrayal of the material slows down the educational process compared to studying in books. Now, Cabbage Patch. Cabbage Patch is a perfectly healthy, normal doll in most respects. In fact, it's a better doll than most because it's soft, it's a lovable type doll. But there is one minor problem with it, and it's called responsibility training. It's something that's done in junior high and high schools by giving a hard-boiled egg to a kid and saying, this is your child, you have to take care of it or it dies. That's basically what's happened with Cabbage Patch through the adoption certificate, through other things that other people have done, not necessarily the company. You can send them off to summer camp, you can marry them, you can bury them, you can buy fur coats for them, and if you look at the kids carrying dolls in the mall, it's normally Cabbage Patch. Now, your child could play with Cabbage Patch and not be affected by it if you step in and make sure that they're not overextending the reality of the doll to where it's alive and they believe that they have to take care of it 24 hours a day. Now, that's too heavy a trip to lay on a 4-year-old kid. Now, as long as they don't believe that, you're all right.
The effects that these toys have on the children, are they subliminal, or is it just the constant TV watching that you feel is causing these children to believe in the occult, which I don't think most of them know, but I'm just kind of interested to learn what the effect is.
The real thing that I've come against is the fact that children play with toys that are linked to television shows, and the shows, see, a child projects himself with his imagination into a toy. He brings it to life, he gives it character, abilities, talents, and sets the surrounding around it. Now, what happens when he watches television is that an adult imagination, adult creativity has told him what this toy is going to do. Okay? It's told him what character this toy has. It's told him what abilities it has. It's told him that this toy has occult powers and can levitate, can call forth demons out of a pit, can call on the supreme evil. And these are words that they use in the cartoons. And so what happens is the television programs the child and eliminates 90% of the healthy play value of a toy. Toys are healthy to play with. There's nothing wrong with toys that are good.
And we'll get to some of those toys that you're talking about that you believe are good, but now your question.
Don't you still get back to the same issue of that, like the He-Man toy, who wins? The good guy always wins. They're also pushing that issue into the children. The Skeletor, you never see him win. He might get a slight victory, but in the total end, it's always He-Man that wins.
It's a good point, because I know that there have been a lot of stories that say that the struggle between good and evil, that this actually reinforces in a child that the good guy always wins, and that it's, you know, right over evil.
Getting back to the Lone Ranger days in the Westerns, the Indians didn't win.
Yeah,
they always lost. And you could always say that, well, they believed in many different gods, so the old Westerns had the satanic effect because they didn't believe in one basic god. They had many gods.
It's not the same. What's happened here is that good is confusion, and they're empowered by spiritual forces. He-Man lifts a sword in the air and yells by the power of Grayskull. There's a spiritual force in that castle that empowers him to do what he's doing. There's a spirit in the castle. It manifests itself in the shape of a skull. He's empowered to do good through this spiritual occultic power. Now, he has a friend called the Sorceress, who through occult witchcraft power does good. He has a friend called Tila, the warrior goddess, who's also called the patron saint of all warriors. She is seen carrying a cobra head and all this junk. And so what happens is that the good is empowered and uses as much occultic symbolism as the evil does.
All right, now wait a minute. Let me jump in here. It's true, by the power of Grayskull, and they say that in the cartoons. But did you ever read Greek mythology?
Yes.
Do you believe in Zeus?
I believe the possibility of that being at one time, yes.
You believe in that?
There's no reason not to. I haven't seen any proof not to believe in it. It's kind of like, do you believe in UFOs? Is there any proof that there is no such thing as a UFO?
No. Well, I mean, I read Greek mythology. I don't believe in Zeus or any of that stuff.
There's a little problem in the terminology there, because Greek mythology to you is Greek mythology. But we look back at the Greeks, and they worship those things as a religion. Their social, economic system was built around the worship of those gods.
Are you telling me we're going to have a Skeletor He-Man religion now?
Well, they're lifting them up as a god-like being.
Do you believe in the lost city of Atlantis? Do you believe that's a possibility?
No.
You believe there's no possibility? How about the Bermuda Triangle?
Not unless it was natural phenomenon.
How do you feel about this? Stand up here and talk to me on this thing. I mean, you're sitting here and you're soaking this all in, and I'm trying to understand it myself. How do you feel about this?
I really can't tell you. I really don't know.
I want you to hold up a couple more toys and show me some of your examples.
Let me tell you something. I got 5 or 10, 15 minutes on this show to tell you everything that I've spent 3 years researching. I've got a book out on the market. It's called Turmoil in the Toy Box. If you really want to judge what I'm saying, get the book. Don't judge it by what I'm saying on here. But
okay, now, so we're talking about toys, and we're going to hold up some more examples. We've got to take a break right now, and we're going to have the Peters brothers come out and talk to us about rock and roll music and some of the effects that has on our children right after this, next on Twin Cities Live.